Welcome back to art class. Today we're going to continue on with our 3D landscape that we're creating. You're going to need quite a few items today. You're going to need a pair of scissors today. You're going to need a glue. We'll use those in a little bit. Set those off to the side. You want a pencil, an eraser. You're going to want a ruler because we're going to need a smidge of measuring because we have some cutting to do. We need to be exact. You're going to want your colored pencils. And then you should have your background part already done. And then you should also have an example of, or a quick sketch out of what you wanted. So this is the background. Remember, we divided our picture up into 3 sections. We're gonna have the background, which is for me, mountains. Middle ground, which is gonna be desert and a little cactus and maybe a tumbleweed. And then the foreground is going to have a little bit more ground, and then it's gonna have a large saguaro cactus in front. So there's gonna be 3 layers to this. It's always good to have that off to the side and keep it just to remind yourself your steps that you're taking. This piece for right now, the one that's the background piece, is pretty well set for right now. We don't need to do anything with it today. We just need to have it handy. You should have 2 pieces of paper that are cut. These are going to be our side panels to hold everything together. We'll use those in a little bit. And you're also going to need 1 piece of paper for sure. I would have an extra piece available to do a little bit of cutting and pasting with. So I recommend actually 2 pieces of paper for this. I'm going to set these 2 large ones off to the side for a minute, and I'm going to focus on these cut pieces already. This week, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this part out of the way so it can dry while you're busy coloring. There's not really a whole lot that has to be done to these. What you're going to do is you're just going to fold them in half so they look like a book. And you get your edges as well lined up as you can. Like that. Then we're gonna do like we did last week. We need this actually to be a thicker piece of paper, so we're gonna make our own thickness. And I'm gonna use glue to glue them together. As soon as I clean off the glue tip. I'm gonna do dots here. And use the nozzle. Just set this off to the side. We'll use that once it's dry to put everything together, and do the same thing to this one. So we'll let this one dry as well. And then I'm going to move on to my first white piece of paper. Glue is done for right now, so you can set that off to the side. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to fold this one in half as well, like a book. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to cut on the fold. All right, so these 2 pieces here are going to be starting out the exact same way, so that's why I'm going to have them both right here. So we have the background completed. Now I need to do the middle ground. Now for the middle ground, I need to cut a window. So let me show you a finished example here. Squished a little bit. You need to have a window so that we can see through the individual layers of the project. Okay? So I can see through. So right now we're going to work on the middle ground window, and then we'll work on the foreground window. So we need to actually make that window. That's pretty easy to do. What I need you to do, and you're going to do this lightly, I'm going to do it kind of hard just so you can see it through the camera, is you're going to take your ruler, and we've got to be on the inches side, make sure you're on the inches side, and you're going to measure over from the side 1 inch, just put a dot. You're gonna do this near the top. You don't actually wanna be right at the top, but near the top. And you're gonna wanna do this near the bottom. Okay. Then you're gonna take your ruler and you're just going to draw a line right through the 2 dots. Then you're gonna turn your paper around, like that. Do the same exact thing to this new side here. Measure over, put a dot at 1. And use your ruler to draw a straight line through the dots. Okay, getting closer. Now I need you to turn your paper this way. Just out of the way. All right. I'm gonna do the same exact thing that I just been doing. I'm gonna measure over. I'm not gonna put it on the line because I don't wanna be confused with these other dots. Like there. There. Again, I made sure not to put it on the line because I don't want to be confused with my dots. Next, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to draw the line through the dots, but I need you to stop when you hit the line. So the line actually goes like that. We're going to flip our paper around and do the same thing. Okay, next, need to do a little bit of erasing. The lines here that stick out need to be erased. That way it looks like a window without the lines sticking out. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this right off to the side here for a second. I'm gonna do the same thing since we're talking about having the ruler and we got it all out. We're just gonna go ahead and get this piece of paper done exactly the same way. So we need the second piece of paper to look like the first one. What I want you to do is you're gonna label one of them on the side that has the pencil, because eventually we're gonna flip this over so we don't see the pencil. We're gonna put middle ground, M-I-D-D-L-E, middle. I'm just gonna put middle. And then on this other one here, I'm gonna put 4, F-O-R-E. Actually, I'm gonna put the whole word ground. The word is foreground. This one is actually middle ground, but middle will work for that. Next, we need to actually cut out this center piece. Now, for most of you kind of figure it out, you don't want to cut in from the side because that'll make the paper wobbly. So what we're going to do is we're going to pinch it in the middle like this. Take my scissors, put a little snip, and then I can cut right to the side that I need to cut on, and then I can go from there. Try to keep it in as one piece as possible because you can use it for scrap. So don't be cutting shapes out of it or anything like that. You might want it for scrap later. Set the foreground off to the side. We'll work on the middle ground. Flip it over so that you're working on a clean side. Now, this is where my picture comes in handy. I'm gonna grab my background. So here's my background. Now I need to do the middle ground. My sky is gonna remain basically empty. I'm not gonna have to worry about that part. I'm only gonna worry about the middle ground. So I actually need to cut a piece of paper that will look like the ground here. Now this unfortunately is too small, but this might be useful later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my piece of paper, my extra, and I'm laying this on top. You can see that I'm laying on top. And I'm gonna mark how tall I need my middle ground to be. So I need my middle ground to be just under the halfway point. Any taller than that, and it'll end up covering up too much of the mountain. So it about halfway like that. Okay. So then what I'm gonna do is, in my picture, is pretty much just a straight line across, like that. Now, I can color the ground in. Then I also want a tumbleweed. I'm gonna put a cactus, my little cactus in here, but I'm gonna actually glue that piece on. So first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this out. Unfortunately, the tumbleweed would have been too hard to make and look good because it would add too many white spaces in there. So that's why I did it on the piece of paper. Now I have to cut around it. So this is my middle ground piece of paper. Okay. So I'm gonna glue it right here, and then I'm gonna put my cactus off to the side here. So now I can use my scrap to make my little, let's see. There we go. It's just a little cactus like that. So it's gonna hang out right here at the edge. Okay, and what I can do is I can just double check how's that look so far. Yep, except it's gonna be raised back a little bit, so that's okay. So that's how it's really gonna look. And what I'd like to do is I will give the back section a little bit of a light blue, just so it looks like sky here. Now I need to do the foreground. Foreground is done very similar, except the ground needs to be right there at the very bottom of the strip here. So for me, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pencil and just use, and then draw the line as if the ground just continues on from the corners like that. That way, when we put it on top, it looks like it's in front. Okay. And this is also sand because it is a desert. Okay, I'm gonna use my scrap here as my cactus. Oh, and I went too tall. I didn't measure my paper, so I'm gonna have to trim that. Okay, and I can put that on top of this so we can kind of layer it and get an idea of what it's going to look like. Now, like the top of my mountains gets clipped a little bit, but when we have it out, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So we're going to get to this part. So we need the background, which should be completed, the middle ground, which should have the ground should not go past the halfway point, so there should be a big block of window over there. Then the middle ground, or excuse me, the foreground, which is just going to use the bottom of the paper as the ground level for that. Okay? And then you should also have these two pieces drawing as well. Next week was going to be about assembling all these pieces together. If you would, just take a photograph, just kind of line everything up, put these two together, maybe this one off to the side like this, That way you can take a picture of it, upload it to Google Classroom, and I will see you next week.